Hello, my name's Anissa Blue. You will have received this because you participated in my research study, and for that I want to say a massive thank you. I have decided to just record the presentation rather than try and get everyone in one place at the same time, and then give you the opportunity to listen, digest, and get back to me with any questions if you should have some. Okay, so I'm going to give you a very brief introduction to sensory processing and what it is. So for the session, the aims will be, I'm going to define sensory processing, we're going to explore all 8 senses, and then really want to focus on the tactile, vestibular, and proprioceptive systems, because those are ones that we generally are not as aware of and might not understand the importance of so much. What behaviors we might see when there are difficulties and challenges. So when we're talking about sensory processing, we're really talking about this neural process whereby information comes in from our environment and from our bodies, and that information is then sorted and organized and then altered in such a way that our brain produces what we call an adaptive response. And that adaptive response allows us to meet the demands of the environment. Okay, our central nervous system is this open system, and we get information from the environment, it's organized and it's processed, and from the experience we then produce feelings, we produce thoughts and motor responses, which allow us to give and get accurate feedback and provides that additional input. Our sensory processing happens on a completely unconscious level, whereas things like thinking and cognition are more conscious. Okay, it occurs completely automatically in normal development or typical development. And we say by about the ages of 8 to 10, your sensory processing should be mature and well integrated. Okay, it is going to allow us to use our bodies effectively. We have 8 senses. Okay, we talk about our functional senses, which is our vision, our hearing, taste and smell, and touch. And then we talk about our foundation senses, okay? And these are going to be your touch, your balance, your body awareness, and your interoception. Okay. When we look at our visual system, so when you completed your sensory processing measure forms, this is the one that would come back under VIS, vision. And what we might see or might find is that we are particularly overreactive to visual stimulation. So any bright lights, we need to have dark sunglasses, get really distracted in a visually busy environment, or that you are underreactive, so you want a lot of excess input. Okay, you might also have difficulties with perception, so being able to pick out one item that's exactly the same from a range of others. Or you might have oculomotor difficulties, so being able to track moving objects with your eyes while keeping your head still, so when the doctor says, follow my eye, are you able to do that without moving your head? You might be someone who prefers to wear hats. You might like the lights down low. And again, this is just going to be about how we can change our environments. Okay. When we talk about our auditory system, so hearing, you would have seen HEA on your forms. What you will find is that you might be someone who is seeking additional input, and you might do that through humming, singing. I sing all the time. I have songs for various things. I hum all the time. And singing or humming can drown out other noise to help you focus. And it also provides really nice sensation, so like a tactile proprioception, vibration sense, which is regulating. Okay, we might find that we are very overreactive to noises, so startle easily. You can be upset by loud noises, or you could have real difficulties with perception of sound, so not knowing where sounds are coming from. And not knowing whose voice is whose, and that can be really, really dysregulating. Okay, so think about your forms, think about where your answers have sat with that. Okay, we then talk about what on your forms would be TNS, so gustatory, taste, and olfactory systems. And what you might find here is that, if you are very, very overreactive to tastes and smells, you might have very, very clear food patterns or preferences. You'll only eat certain foods. You could be distressed by certain foods, and this is about the texture and the smell. You might be really, really smell sensitive, and you might want to smell things. If you are under responsive, or if you're over responsive, you're going to notice smells when other people don't. You are going to gag really easily at other smells. You might seek out certain smells. You might avoid certain areas. Okay, so your smell system is very, very closely linked to memories. And so a certain smell might take you straight back to a holiday you had and bring back happy memories. It can also have the adverse effect and take you back to a traumatic or not so nice memories as well. Okay, so your smell can also be heightened when you are particularly anxious. And then we talk about the tactile system, and this is my favorite sense, the sense of touch. Okay, your touch is going to involve anything which touches the skin. Okay, our skin is our largest organ in our bodies, and it's going to help us to, know what things are. So just by feeling this little bobbly hair thing, I know that it's a bobbly hair thing because I can feel the little ridges in it. I can, if these two were in a bag, I'd be able to, without looking, know which one was which because I could feel it. Okay, so touch helps us to understand our surroundings, to really to feel safe, to bond. There's so much that we can convey with the touch. If I can see a friend's having a really bad day, I simply have to put my hand on her shoulder, give her a little squeeze, and in that one little gesture, she can know that I'm trying to say, you're okay, you'll be okay, I'm with you, I understand. And so touch is, to me, just super, super important. I can talk about touch for days, but touch is your first sense to develop, the age of 6 weeks in utero, and it's also the last sense to leave. So when you've lost your hearing and your vision, if you are comforting someone who is, say, perhaps on their deathbed, just by touching them, they will still feel that, and they will still feel connected to you. And that's why I think touch is just so important. when we talk about discrimination or perception, this is when we're thinking about our bodies and that detailed information that we're going to get. So what is on my hand? Is it a thread or is it a spider? Am I able to find the little butterfly of my earring and put it in without having to look in the mirror and knowing which side is which? Knowing if something is hot or cold. Being able to, as I said, with these little scrunchies, being able to figure out which one is which, okay? And the reason that touch is so important is because it really helps us to develop those fine motor skills, as I said, using cutlery, opening lunch boxes. Sometimes I see adults struggle with certain packaging, like pulling the lid off a yogurt or something. But also through touch, we really, really regulate, we bond, we comfort. And so it's really important to think about, when you are already dysregulated, some light touch could make you feel even more dysregulated. And that's why firm touch or a big hug is always preferred. Certainly I prefer a big hug. And I prefer to touch other people, so stroke them, tickle their backs. Okay. When we talk about our balance system, our vestibular system, it's located in our inner ears, and it's about the fluids in our inner ear, and they're tiny, tiny micro hairs that the fluid flows over, and that is going to help us to balance, to know if, when you're on a train and you're still, but the train next to you takes off, that motion, okay, and that is going to influence how alert we are. Okay, so if you're going slowly and you're rocking a baby backwards and forwards, it's all lovely. They take the baby and you're still rocking because you're feeling quite calm and regulated. Okay, it is really important to help us coordinate our eyes, head and body, and to coordinate our muscle tone so we can stay upright against gravity. Okay, it is going to allow us to run and look. It's going to allow us to quickly turn our heads to the sides, check for traffic, and go over, okay? If you are particularly, there could be a number of reasons why you have difficulties with modulation. And so, for example, if you take a long time to respond to movement, you might bump into things, bump into people, you might have lower muscle tone, and so you're going to be slumping a bit more, you're going to have a hard time holding yourself upright. You might be the person who's constantly seeking out movement, so you are constantly pacing, or you might be hanging upside down, or you might love certain yoga moves like downward dog, or a little back bend, because you are looking for more movement. Okay, you are going to be loving roller coasters and theme parks, and going on things like that. Sometimes you can find that we are really sensitive to movements, so we can get really overexcited after movements and be a little bit dysregulated, or we can get really easily car sick, find it really difficult when someone else is driving, but okay when we're driving. And yeah, so it has this impact on us that we're really scared of being moved. And when we have difficulties with our vestibular system, it can really have an impact on such a wide range of things. So your balance, your planning a new activity, being able to sit still, just simple things like handwriting is going to be quite tricky for us. Okay, we'll talk about our proprioceptive system, which on your little sheet would be indicated by BOD. And that's what's going to help us move around a room. It's going to help us to sit upright. It's going to help us to make all these automatic little movements. It's going to help me to know where my arm is. So when I put my jacket on, without having to look, I'll just know that the sleeve is there and put it in. Okay, so it's about where my body is in space, what each part is doing, and then what I can do with each part. So thinking about grading force. Okay, so our proprioceptors are located in all our joints, and they're going to be doing all this kind of thinking for us. So if I have my coffee cup, I can know that by pushing this little lid in a certain amount and what it feels like, whether it's in or out, and being able to pick it up, knowing how heavy it is, bring it to my lips, have a drink, and put it down without looking, really. Okay, so it's about doing all of that quite skillfully. So if you think about breaking an egg, you have to get just the right amount of force to crack that egg open without making too much of a mess. Your proprioception and your muscle tone and your balance, this is where it works really, really in conjunction with your vestibular system. So these two kind of go together really, really well, together with your tactile system. Okay, and so you can't really separate them that much. Okay, for example, if you are sitting, if you step onto an unstable surface, so like a rocky paving stone, you are going to get vestibular information from your inner ear about that change in your head position, and then you're going to get that proprioceptive information about the position that, for example, your ankle, your knee, your hip are in. Okay. When you are struggling with processing proprioception, you might find that you are doing everything that is, you're seeking it. So you are constantly jiggling your legs. I'm jiggling my legs right now. You might chew your nails, you might chew your clothes, you might chew your hair. You'll be chewing your pens. You are going to be doing activities that give you a lot of kind of the crash, the bangs, the big movements. Okay, you might chew gum all the time. If you are struggling to discriminate or to process, it could be that you don't know your own strength. You're going to slump at your desk. You might look really clumsy. You have to look at everything that you are doing, and you can't do anything without your vision. Okay, you'll tire quite easily as well. And what happens is that you are going to struggle to sit still. Okay, so you're going to be moving about to get more proprioceptive feedback about where you are, and that's why I'm sitting on a spinny chair, but it also tilts backwards and forwards. I will often sit on a ball chair, or I'll sit on a dynamic chair that's going to give me that inherent movement. Okay, it's what keeps us alert. It keeps me alert. It keeps me regulated. Okay, we then talk about praxis. So praxis is going to be our planning and sequencing, and that is how well we can think we want to do something, make a plan in our heads, and then actually carry it out. Okay, so this is not a sensory system, but rather this higher level function. And interestingly enough, for those of you who are interested, on the results, there was a significant amount of the study group who had difficulties with praxis and planning. And it was really interesting because, as people with ADHD, we often have all the ideas. We have amazing ideas, and then you go to do it and you just actually can't figure out how on earth you're going to do it. Okay, I am going to, just for your entertainment, show you a couple of videos. One is me. That was me doing an inversion. And so that is full-on vestibular. It's proprioceptive. Okay. And that movement, I love being upside down. That was a really great movement for me. The next video I'm going to show you is about me learning to ride a bike. So let's pause that one, and then if we start this one here. So my kids were like, come on, Mom, and I was nervous. I was petrified. So I had no idea what I was doing because my praxis is so bad. I just had no idea what I was doing. I then went on and got a lesson from someone who gives private bike lessons, and this was me riding a bike for the first time. That was also the last time I rode a bike. I wanted to be able to say that I could do it. My sons have always told me that in the event of a zombie attack, it is very important that I know how to ride a bike. That's just an aside. So yeah, there you can see me riding a bike. So think of all my senses are involved there. I'm looking, I'm listening, I am screening out other senses, other smells perhaps. You can look at the concentration on my face. It's then stopping myself. And then, that interoception, which is what we're going to talk about next, coming in. And how I'm going to feel about that. Okay, so your interoception helps us to know what's happening inside our bodies. It's constantly trying to get our bodies to that homeostasis. So you'll see that there was on your forms, there was a social participation section. Okay, you have all over our bodies, we have special nerve receptors on our internal organs, our bones, muscles, and our skin. And they send information to our brain which tells us how we're feeling. Okay, if you're hungry, if you're tired, if you need the bathroom, are you able to know whether you're hot or you're cold? Sometimes I get into hyper focus and I forget to eat or I forget to use the bathroom, and then I'm suddenly like, oh, I need to wee now. Right, I need to wee in the next 2 seconds. Or, for example, if I've not eaten all day and I say, oh, yeah, you know what, I feel hungry. And then a couple of minutes later, I might go, right, actually, I'm starving. And that means that if there's anyone around me, I have about 2 minutes before I turn into somewhat of a monster because I've not eaten, that hangry idea. Okay. And what happens is everything that's happening inside us is really going to affect how we react, how we regulate ourselves, our self-awareness. Am I going to think, okay, that person is being really, really mean to me? Are they actually being mean to me, or am I just perceiving it that way because I'm actually super, super hungry? Okay, I can't solve the problem if I'm hungry. I can't really be rational if I'm hungry or thirsty. If I'm tired, I am a bit of a zombie. Okay, so it's going to influence all our social skills. Okay, and so really, I just want to say thank you so much for participating in my research project. I hope that the sheets that you had were informative. If you have any questions, please do email me on the email address that you've been getting emails from me from. Yeah. And yeah, thank you so much. I have, for those of you interested, I have presented the research in the International Sensory Integration Conference in Rio de Janeiro, and this was last year, and it was received really well. There's a lot more that needs to come out of this and that can come out of this, and I again have all the ideas, but it's actually putting things in place. That'll be interesting. So again, thank you so much for participating. And yeah, do let me know if you have any questions at all. Okay.